We have Superheavy Samurai for you today. Tri-Brigade Fire Kings is back at it again, and we have Pendulums, along with Blackwings and something else. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. Now, this is very interesting to see. We have a functioning version of Superheavy Samurai actually kind of returning back to the meta here and showcasing that, hey, there is something to this deck. To be honest with you, I forgot that this deck actually existed for a little while because of, losing their Link monster, but the Universal Pendulum scale system is still 100% available right now to the meta, all right? You've got to remember there are a lot of things that you can do along the way with some of this stuff. So interesting to see that, we found a way to do things. I also want to, put a lot of the success towards a lot of the more modern era tech choices that a deck like this gets. You get things like Fenrir, you get things, well, obviously Splashable Kaiju, but Revolution Synchron, I think, does help out a lot with the pressure that this deck can put on your opponent. Also, let's not forget how crazy good old Swage de Floor actually can be for the, the multiple pops. Also, let's call it what it is, but when you start getting into the rank 8 stuff, Sargass resolving, you're putting good stuff on the field, and then just kind of the rest of the overall good stuff that allows this deck to kind of function together. I don't know, I once again, a lot of the tech choice, this is just kind of modern era Yu-Gi-Oh! In a nutshell, but the more outs that you can have, or the more board explosion that I feel like you're able to have, especially with a deck like this, the more pressure, once again, you can put on it. Okay, outside of that, I don't think you'd even play like the one spell or trap post-side decking. I think what you've got for the heavy monster beat side of this deck just works out relatively well. Yeah, looking at this, there's nothing else I would change. Maybe, if you're trying to get saucy, maybe try to take it to 41 for the third Revo, but I think this is too optimized. Next up here, we have Fire King with the Tri-Brigade stuff. Now, this has actually been kind of interesting to see as a discussion point because so many people are looking at all of the Fire King stuff along the way over the past week or so, and we saw a massive explosion in value in Shirag, and a lot of people are like, what in the world has caused Shirag to go up in such insane numbers? Well, because this all has synergy with, Beast, Beast Warrior, Wing Beast. Guess what? Beast. Wing Beast. Beast Warrior, Beast Warrior, Beast Warrior. Suddenly, all of this extra value that you're getting in these Fire King cards, guess what? It's all floating together. And that's what actually I think is going to keep a lot of people kind of entertained about this deck is, once again, when you have reverse synergy here, you start to see a lot more things. Also, this gives more searchability to tanky, because we've seen a lot of builds already playing tanky because we don't have Bonfire at the moment, but because of this, suddenly, okay, well, without Bonfire, you have to find slightly more interesting ways. Suddenly Fractal's got a lot more value for this deck, immediately setting up, going through the dump lines here that you could do. So that's something to kind of think about here is, is this method going to stick around post next set? I don't know. I could see it being a very, very minor thing and it can still do something. But when you're comparing it to what feels like the larger consistency that you're able to get from the other build, I feel like eventually it will power creep itself out. But for now, in terms of, shiny new toy, we can do something with this. Oh, absolutely you can. All right, and that's what you want to see once again. All right. Oh, boy, Pendulum. So I want to preface this with this. Pendulum feels like it's been struggling out here. I don't know what it is, whether or not people just don't want to innovate the deck, or, we don't have Electromite. It's those little moving pieces that you look at out here for these builds, and you're like, all right, so what's going on with this? Well, I think people just either aren't innovating, or they just feel like the other decks in the room feel a lot better. I also see that we're playing 2 copies of the Lightworm as well, and then of course triple copies of the Gate Magician. This card is bonkers to me. Like, I'm actually pretty impressed with how good this is. Now, I also find we're playing a copy of Monster Reborn in here as well. This is kind of interesting. You need to reborn one of your link monsters along the way for the additional link rating or something. That's actually kind of a cool idea. The problem is, though, you're going to have to draw this. And that's why, like, a lot of people give a lot of crap to Monster Reborn is, you know, unless you're playing Thrust, well, you're not really seeing it unless, you know, the old-fashioned draw. it just be like that. I also see that we're playing triple copies of Wings of Light. You would not be surprised the amount of builds that I've seen, though, that do cut back on this, though. Like, I don't know if they just don't want to deal with it, but, you know, the amount of consistency that it feels like we're dealing with is interesting. I also see we're dealing with the one Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon in here as well. Once again, interesting ratios, interesting ideas. Also the fact we're playing one Soul of the Supreme Celestial King in here as well. We're also not doing the Time Pendulum Graph stuff. I do think that the Time Pendulum Graph stuff helps this deck out a lot. Alright, you do need to make sure that you can put the pressure on your opponent, and that's what those cards tend to do. Also 100% searchable. Next up here, we have Black Wings. Oh my, oh my. I also want to say, like, Black Wings have had such a crazy takeoff over the last couple weeks. Like, it's mind-boggling to me that you take a look at the current state of Black Wings and you're just like, what in the world has caused this explosion of things? And it's just become a more consistent thing. Now, this build is playing Mseti and Hoppy, which I actually like this. Being able to have those monsters that you can put on the field as stepping stones for, you know, you guessed it, those level 10 synchros, you know, things kind of get very interesting. Now, this build's not playing Assault Synchron, which I do find a little bit interesting. Personally, Assault Synchron in this build is like a 2 of. Is something that I really do like, you know, but I don't think that this build really cares. I mean, you have enough inherent tuners in, you know, Vada here that you shouldn't really have much of a problem, you know, kind of setting this all up along the way, you know, so interesting. Outside of that, the 2 Black Whirlwinds, this is absolutely, I think, the best idea to go with the deck. Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh, but no, play 3. No. All right. They are consistency pieces, yes, but you end up hurting yourself the more that you tend to bulk down on cards that don't really feel like they help much of the purpose anymore along the way. So that's one big thing is, you know, I understand that, you know, cutting back on this, it seems bad. No, please do trust these lists, all right? They're having success for a reason. I also love the fact that you're playing the small world into the Radion Kaiju. Interestingly enough, a lot of these builds have sided this or mained it. I do think that maining it might cover some more of your going first bases, which seems pretty good. And then we have Vanquish Soul, the Challenger. Interestingly enough, Vanquish Soul, it feels like it kind of, once again, it disappeared off into the distance somewhere. You know, people were like, oh my gosh, you know, did you forget about Vanquish Soul? No, I didn't. I just think that what's going on with this deck right now might not be the best optimization of what you really want to see at the moment. So kind of keep that all in mind as you're looking at how the meta is progressing here for a deck like this. Because obviously, yeah, being able to do the fire reveals. Also, 2 Kaiser Varius is a very welcome change. Most of these builds, I think, have been focusing just on one, because either they consider it such a terrible dead draw, but I think the card really is, like, pretty good. Also, we have some Ghost Mourner Moonlit Chills in here. That's, once again, a nice little change of pace. Okay, I like what we're seeing here for this stuff. Outside of that, honestly, the meta's in a pretty interesting place right now. Obviously, you know, that's going to change once Bonfire and the rest of things kind of come on into the fray here. But if you've got all of these viable decks that are doing well right now, that are showcasing, you know, hey, we can do something here, I think that's really, really cool. You know, once again, diversity really does show that, you know, all these little tech choice, the meta, it just feels a lot better than it actually is. So if you've seen anything do relatively well, please feel free to reach out to me on social media. I'll try to cover it in these deck profiles. And you guys have, well, a good rest of your day, all right? Peace out, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.